So these are 3 to 5 minute mind hacks from some of the top minds in the world that I've either interviewed or read. And today's topic is an awesome topic. It's about great leadership, both in the business world and also great personal leadership. How do you know if you're leading yourself well? And for answers, we're going to turn to Rosalinda Torres, who is a managing partner at Boston Consulting Group. Worked in their leadership practice for years, advises CEOs around the world, but she did something really unique. She took a year off to study leadership in different contexts. What does it look like in a nonprofit group? How did Nelson Mandela lead in a completely different situation in South Africa? And through all of that work in the business world and her personal journey, she distilled down the essence of great leadership into 3 concepts. Number 1 is to anticipate and live the change that you see for the future. And she says you'll know if you are doing this by your calendar. How do you spend your time? In fact, I asked her after the interview, I said, what's one leadership question or one leadership principle that everyone should know? And she said, look at your calendar. How are you spending your time? Who are you spending your time with? On what topics? What books are you reading? Where are you traveling to? And how does that align with the person that you need to be in the future? Which aligns very well with that whole concept from Matthew McConaughey, which is when they asked him who his hero is, he said, it's me in 10 years, right? So you have to anticipate and live the change you see coming. Number 2 is diversity of network. She found that great leaders always had a very diverse network, both personally and professionally. And what that allowed them to do was to see different contexts. You know, if you go back and you listen to old Steve Jobs talked about what real brilliance is. And he said, it's not a smart person thinking through a problem. It's someone who sees enough data points and can connect points that no one else can see. And therefore they have a completely different perspective on problems. So number 2, diversity of your professional and your personal network. Are you live in an echo chamber? Are you worried about trying to get people to agree with you or people who give you different perspectives? And finally, and maybe the most important, is great leaders have courage to leave their old selves behind and to leave business models behind. You may not know this, but the mind is actually designed not to change, right? It wants to hold on to the past. So it takes great courage to look at yourself and say, I'm not the person that I need to be. But the reality is that's all of us right now. None of us are the people we need to be. Right? So the big 3 are you have to anticipate and live the change. And you know that by where you spend your time and who you spend your time with and what's on the calendar. Are these people who are helping you into the future? Number 2, the diversity of your network. Do you have a diverse professional and personal network that allows you to see things in different contexts? And that allows you to make different decisions in kind. And number 3, bravery and courage. Do you have the courage to look at your former self and say, I need to be better, to look at your current self and say, I need to be better, to look at your current business model and say, we need to be better. So 3 simple concepts, but when I asked her to boil it down to 1, she said, look at where you spend your time and who you spend your time with. That will tell you what kind of leadership you're giving yourself and what kind of leadership you're giving your organization. And that is this week's Mind Espresso.